All right. Shit, where the light? Is it here? That's it. All right, beautiful people. Let me. Wait. I'm doing some bullshit. Ooh, goddamn. Whatever. We're back at it again. So I decided to create these little instructional videos into how I practice my basics and foundation within hip hop and within any other styles, as per requested. Because I believe that movement is connected to the same roots, as it is based on our anatomies and the way that we are physically set up as human beings. We have two arms, legs, head, and some rotational axis with our joints that allows us to do some movements within the realm of possibilities. You don't have wings, so you ain't gonna be able to fly. You don't have 8 arms, so there's things that you can do like monsters can do. Anyways, the purpose of this is to show you how I structure and approach my basis. In terms of hip hop, the basics of hip hop dance, foundations, whatever you want to call it, are broken down with the bounce, the groove, the rock, the skates, the waves, the rolls. Now, how do I practice them? Breaking down these in bits and pieces. You have the bounce. The bounce is, just like the word says, is bouncing, right? The people that bounce the most, you've seen the bounce and you've been bouncing since you were a toddler. Because you know what baby do? They be bouncing, crouching. All right, that's a bounce. So that's a natural actually movement, which is pretty interesting to like look at when you deep it. But so how I structure it. So you have those different elements that are part of like the core aspect that build the tree that you are, right? It's the roots of your tree. Those roots can be broken down separately and look at them and how they can be amplified. How I look at it is breaking down. So we got the bounce, all right? The bounce in a stillness will just be this. How I would go about it is to break down the movement from my perspective and understanding. If the bounce is this, that means there's a lot of notion that I can put into it. I look at things kind of like a video game. So video games is different, have different vernacular and different way of processing, but there's things that correlate to different games. You have specification, character traits, you have things that are broken down into bits and pieces, and you also have points that you acquire that you can allocate in order to grow in some spaces. And I envision dance and movement in the similar way, where I'm gathering a bunch of like EXP points and I'm able to like increase my speed, my power, my dexterity, and different elements with the things that I'm gathering by training also with purpose and increasing some elements for me to get a better understanding and to grow exponentially. Same with the basics. So I have the bounce. I'm going to depict the bounce in the deepest layer that I can. All right. So we're bouncing. And I can add different shapes, forms, dynamics, and patterns, and there's little switches to basically play around with that simple bounce. So I have a bounce that goes down. I can have my bounce that goes left and right to side. I can expand my bounce by opening my legs and still have the side to side. Then I can break down my bounce by allowing just one leg to move with my bounce, by stepping back and forth. Then I can hide directional side to side. So now I'm stepping side to side. Same thing. I can go softer, change the texture. I can go bigger, making it larger. I can now switch leg to give another variation. I can add a jump to my bounce to change the momentum. So there's a lot of things and tricks that you can play around to just change the notion of that simple movement. And what you do with this that is simple, you complexify it by adding different notion to it, different textures, different speed levels, by getting to a point where you're able to solely dance using one thing. That's the purpose on how like you build your basic. And that's applied to every other thing. The rock, all right? So we have the rocking. We're rocking. You can rock in different using directional, so like front, right, left, back, and diagonal. So I'm rocking here. I can rock to the side, to the other side, to the back, to the diagonal, to the diagonal, to the diagonal, to the diagonal. Then I can make a continuous rock by applying all the directions. front, side, side, back, diagonal, 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 diagonal. And then you can also change the texture of your rock. Softness, heavy. There's a lot of things that you can do to tweak it. There's also continuous movement. So continuous movement. So learning how to move continuously and keep one of the bases. For example, I move continuously, but cannot rock and move at the same time. So those are some further layers that you can add in order to diversify and work on your basics. It's to work step by step, like the building blocks of a house. So like the analogy that I like the best is the seed that grows into roots that becomes a tree, birth branches that lead to leaves and flowers, right? It's kind of like the building process for your blueprint of movement to be created. Same thing with the rolls. What are rolls? Rolls are rotation, right? Rotation that you can use with all your joints. You got your head, you got your shoulders, you have your chest, you have your hips, you have your knees, you have your ankles, okay? You have your legs. You have all of those different possibilities by joints that you can use to move around. And you can also change the patterns into which you deliver your motion. So this is 2D. This is a rotation as 2D. My rotation can go upwards instead of focusing here. My rotation can go backwards. My rotation can go double. I can move and rotate my chest. You can rotate two body parts at the same time while moving. My chest is moving. My head is moving. I'm at the third one. My shoulders are moving. I'm at the fourth one. My hips are moving. All right, so there's a lot of things that you can do in order to like dig in deeper and diversify the area of movement that you have. Same for the skates. We're skating. If you look, the skate is a simple motion. How can you diversify it? Isolate one leg. Isolate one leg. Go front to back. Front to back. Side switch. Side switch. By making the movement larger, changing textures, patterns, direction, and then you start to play around with the foundational and making them a little bit more complex, giving your own flavor to it. Same with groove. Groove, we already broken down. This is essentially a rhythm. With one groove, you can go super deep. Imagine that I have a groove and I'm just doing this. All right? I'm grooving. So I'm here. What can I do with this? I can bring it down. I can bring it up. I could change the tempo and break it down with adding some ticking texture. So there's a lot of things that you can do with all of the different elements. Same for waves. Waves. You got out waves, you have in waves. And then your wave patterns can go super deep. It should be able to be creative while sticking to the nature of the movement that you're doing that allows you to play around. So in a nutshell, is identifying what makes the elements that you want to build on, separating them, digging into each section individually, adding different elements, sometimes restriction and handicaps, so that you can find new ways to develop those elements that you have. And then experiment to see how far or how long can you sustain moving just using one of your roots. Peace.